Hello. So, out of all the knowledge that you can possibly have in this world, I think this one thing is the single most important thing you have to know if you want to be happy, if you want to experience a life that is just really vastly different from how things used to be. So, because a lot of the times we believe ourselves to be this human entity, with a certain age, with a certain background, history, memories, dreams, hopes, uh, futures that we want. But when we are identified with all these are the things that usually brings us the most suffering, because when all these things change or are challenged, we suddenly feel like the ground has been ripped out from under us, and you know this is what causes like um, quarter life crisis, midlife crisis, whatever age crisis. And so if you want your experience of being alive to change, to really be as smooth sailing as and as harmonious as possible, you have to know who you are. Who you are is not equal to who you think you are or who you believe you are. So when we grew up, because of the environment or the people around us, they sort of shaped us to define ourselves in a certain way. For example, it could be like, oh, I'm a rule follower, or I'm a, I'm someone who breaks the rules, or it could be I'm someone who likes this or someone who dislikes this. And you define yourself by all these characteristics, by your gender, your age, um, your education, your background, um, what you intend to do in the future, all these things. But what we don't know about all these things is that, or what we do know, because we do, that all these things will change. It could be, nowadays, even gender can change because you can do a surgery for gender change, or your age, it doesn't stay stagnant at like a certain number, it increases, or your likes and dislikes, they will change too, because you could have an experience. Let's say you used to really like bananas, then you have an experience where when you peeled open a banana, and then you saw like worms wriggling out of it, and then from that point onwards you hate bananas. So all these things change all the time, and if we are defined by them, then when these things change, we can feel really out of sorts. We can feel like there's a lot of mental noise about how this isn't how I'm supposed to be, or how this isn't the world is supposed to be. And so it creates a lot of suffering in us. It creates all the unhappiness, all the feelings of frustration, of feeling lost, of um, uncertainty. I don't know, all these feelings. And so if you want your life to change, where all these feelings, all these thoughts, all these mental noise is reduced, is greatly reduced, then you have to know who you truly are. And it's not that hard. But you have to be very determined, because throughout all our life we have been believing that we are this thing, this entity, this whatever characteristics you have identified yourself with. And so to just to take a step back, it may not be that easy, because we are just so mired in this, in the illusion that we are this certain sort of person. So if you have to take a step back, it's possible that you might have to keep taking steps back in order for you to know who you truly are. And who you truly are is awareness, is consciousness, it is um, the one that is aware of all these things changing. So let's say you grew up from 2 years old to 5 years old. And then throughout that, you have all sorts of experience and everything, but the only thing consistent is that you are there, that you are the one that is experiencing the change from when you were 2 years old to when you were 5 years old. It's just an example. Because I mean, it's really hard for us to remember what happened when we were like 2 years old. But let's say, what you like turned into something you dislike. Still, the only thing that was consistent in that experience was you. You were there to experience likes and dislikes. And so, out of all the knowledge in this world, the only thing that is most important that you have to know is yourself, because you are there to experience all the knowledge that you have gained or lost. These things come and go, all the stuff that comes into your head and goes away from your head, from your mind, they change all the time. And so that, to me, if things can change, they are very secondary to me. Because if I am not there, if I'm not primary to all my experiences, to all the knowledge that I have, to all the changes that are happening in my internal and external world, then there is no, they don't mean a single thing. They are nothing to me. You are like, okay, all your experiences, all your knowledge, your everything external. If you're not there to experience it, then they are nothing. They are just, they don't mean a single thing to you. But you are, so they are like the zero. And then you are the one that's in front of that zero. You have to be there to give meaning, to infuse attention, and to give reality to all these zeros behind it, to all these experiences, knowledge, whatever, whatever. And so that is stable in all your experiences. The only thing that is consistent in all your experiences. And once you are aware of that and you just know it really deeply in your bones that this is who you are, that this is what is important, you, consciousness, awareness, then everything else becomes very, like, you can have them, you can don't, they can change, they can do whatever they want. You can do whatever you want, and you're still fine. You're still feeling okay because you have known fundamentally that this is who you are. That who you are is consistent and changing and just there throughout everything. And the thing about like knowledge, characteristics of who you are, things that come and go in your life is that they are usually, they are given to us by the world, or they are caused by certain external circumstances. And most of the time we feel like it's possible that they could be taken away, that they, we might lose them and stuff like that. And so if you want to experience a sort of peace, a sort of joy that is independent of all these things given to you, taken away from you, then you have to know who you are. Because who you are is something that nobody has given to you and nobody can take away from you. And that is the source of security. This is the only source of security that I feel like we can depend upon, because everything else is just, it changes. I keep saying that it changes because yes, it keeps changing, and sometimes it is out of our control how things are, because there can be so many factors that causes things to change. And so to have that one thing that doesn't change, to know that one thing that doesn't change will be where you source all your joy of being alive from, all your being able to be peaceful no matter what happens in the external internal world. It is where you source these very fundamental feelings from, then nothing in the outside world will be able to take that away. Nothing in the inside world, like your thoughts, emotions, will be able to affect that very strongly. And so find it. Find out who you are. And when you find out who you are, your life might just do a 180. You might go from being this, believing you're this entity with all that mind stuff, to someone that is just, you're very clear about who you are, and you no longer need all sorts of beliefs, concepts, dreams to define who you are. And that is just so, it is just so freeing that you can just be, that you don't have to keep becoming and to stay in that becoming. So, yeah, I truly hope that everybody in this world finds out who they are. I feel like this might just be the key to the end of all sorts of conflicts in this world, because when you know who you truly are, then you will also know who everybody else is. And when you know who everybody else is, you just can't help but, have compassion for everybody. You can't help but do your best to not hurt anybody in any way. And there is no longer this separation of you and me, of right and wrong, of black and white. And just when you have resolved all sorts of conflicts with inside of you, like you have allowed yourself to be everything and nothing, then you are able to allow the whole world, allow anybody to be everything and nothing. That might just be the key to world peace. So yeah, and I think the journey is rewarding enough that once you break through, in the sense that you realize that I've been holding on to this belief that I am like this, is like taken away, or like you've broken through it, then it's just, you experience like an opening inside of you, like a sort of freedom inside of you to no longer define yourself or limit yourself to this thing, to be like this. And this feeling is pretty addictive, I would say. And you would want to keep doing it. I mean, at least I did. So, and it made me happier and happier and more peaceful and joyful by the day. And so I want the same for you too. um, so, yeah, that's it. Bye. See you next time.